Okay. So we are going to see about display devices in today's class. So display devices, as you know, the devices which are going to show you or show some information, or it is going to output the information coming from some system. Okay. So the display devices are going to, you will see a lot of display devices nowadays. TV is a good example of a display device. And we are going to see how the display devices got evolved from the basis is going to be cathode ray tube. It is called a CRT. You know, initially the TVs, the size of TV used to be very big because the cathode, the tube which is going to display a picture used to be very big. It was very complex. But nowadays we can see flat panel monitors available for displays. The CRT is cathode ray tube. It is the basis. It is the starting point of the invention in the display devices category. Then we have the liquid crystal display called as we have the liquid crystal display called as LCD. Just a second. Then we have the light emitting diode LEDs and LED display. Then we have glass plasma display and DLP. So finally we have this DLP. So these are the years. These we can say the evolution of our display devices. It started with CRT and now we are in DLP. Okay. So display technology is two types. It is a CRT or LCD. CRT is going to be the cathode ray tube, or LCD, you know, it is liquid crystal display. LED is a light emitting device, diode display, and the cable technology. So how you are going to connect your computer to your CRT or your computer to your LCD? That cable connection is going to be the VGA or DVI. So these are the two broad cable kind of technology available which are used to connect your display devices to your okay display devices to on the things on the thing which is going to give the information to you. For example, if you are going to display something from computer to your display device, you will be connecting your computer and display device by this VGA cable. Okay. So VGA cable is, you know, VGA is video graphics array. So video graphics array connector. So that is going to be the one of the cable. And next one is DVI. You know, DVI is going to be digital visual interface. So these two technologies are going to be common. Used the cable technology for connecting your display device to your computers or any other information processing device. Next one is the viewable area. The viewable area is going to be, you're going to measure diagonally how much the information which can be displayed on your device. So it is measured usually in a diagonal way. And you have something called as aspect ratio and orientation. So aspect ratio will say about the whether in computer terms you call it as landscape or portrait, right? So it is going to be like that. The aspect ratio means the horizontal display length will be larger and the vertical display height will be lesser. That is going to be your landscape mode. And in portrait mode, it's going to be reverse. It's just looking like a photo. You frame a photo and hang it to the wall, so that is going to be the portrait. And maximum resolution. So resolution will say how much clarity your display device is providing. So resolution will depend on how much area you are going to have in the display device. So if the area for display is very, very high, means the resolution is bound to be very, very high. Then you have the refresh rate. Refresh rate, you know, it is 50 hertz. So the screen is refreshed after every 50 hertz. 50 hertz is the frequency. And if you want in terms of time, you do 1 by 50. It will come close to 20 milliseconds. Every 20 milliseconds, the screen is going to be refreshed. What is the color depth? How is the pixels you are going to use? What is the color depth you are going to use? And the amount of power consumption. It's also very, very important because display devices should not consume much power. Okay, they should not consume much power. They should be relatively having less amount of, or they should be taking less amount of power for displaying the information. Okay. So these are the different parameters the display devices the, can be described with. Okay, this be the thing is given aspect ratio is the combination of both horizontal height and vertical horizontal length and vertical height of a display. And dot pitch is the distance between the two pixels. Between if it is a circle means the distance between the center of the two circles is going to be the dot pitch. It is called as shadow mask. So this is 1 pixel. Okay, 1 pixel is one element which is going to display some information. So the two different types of display devices are shown to you. You can see on your screen. This is LCD, liquid crystal display. So you have flat panel. The backside you don't have a big. The CRT structure is not there, so it is an LCD display, liquid crystal display. Conventional CRT cathode ray tube, you see a big structure at the back. This is going to be the equipment for supporting the functioning of your cathode ray tube. Okay. Next one is glass plasma. Again, flat screen you have LED. LED is all your mobile phone monitors are LED displays, light emitting diode, very bright and powerful. And DLP is a digital light photography. Okay. So it is going to be, you are going to play with images here. So these are the major type of displays which we have seen. Among these, CRT is the very, very basic one. And the evolution after CRT, you had LCD, then we had LED, then glass plasma, and now we are into DLP. Okay. Now we just see how is the functioning of a CRT. CRT is the basis for your display devices, right? So in a CRT, you see, you need a tube like this. That's why even though your screen is in the front, the device backside will be the length of the device from the front to the back will be long because of the usage of all these devices. So only through this mandatory length will be there. That is why all your CRT systems, it will be bulky to carry, and it will also be length and width will be very, very large. So you are going to have a cathode. It is going to emit the electrons, and you are going to have a focusing anode, deflection yoke. So the cathode will emit electrons, and focusing anode will ensure the electrons will travel in a straight line, and the deflection yoke will see that the electrons can be deflected to any point on the screen. So when you have this screen is coated with phosphor, so as and when an electron goes and hits the screen, you can see that portion of the screen. That portion becomes illuminated. So when bunch of electrons are constantly deflected and made to hit on your screen, when they are made to hit on your screen, you can get the picture what you want to display it on your screen. Okay, so you have a cathode. This is called as electron gun, and cathode is going to emit high speed electrons. And these electrons, when they come out, they are going to be traveling in random speed. So in order to control their speed, you have this focusing anode. Okay, this focusing anode will ensure the electrons coming out are going in a straight line, and they are not deflected from the central path of the travel. And you have a lot of focusing anodes to ensure that the electron is going to travel straight till the deflection yoke. And the deflection yoke will ensure that, so depending on the applied field, this is actually a magnet. Only magnets can deviate the path of electrons. Okay, so this deflection yoke will bend the electronic beam which is going to travel straight, and then depending on the amount of magnetic field you are going to apply, the bend is going to be that much. And the display screen is coated in phosphorus. So you know that as and when the electrons are going to go and hit the phosphorus screen, the that point becomes illuminated. Okay, that point becomes illuminated. So this is the logic in which your CRT tubes are going to work. And you are going to have electron guns. So you will have the electron guns for three basic colors, R, G, and P. So as they go to the shadow mask and they fall on the phosphor plate, you see combination of RGB. You will see that particular color coming out. So if can control the proportion of electrons coming from R, G, and P. So accordingly, any color is combination of red, green, and blue, right? So if I want to get a brown or yellow or any other current orange, I will appropriately operate the electron guns to ensure that I can see orange color on the screen. So it all depends on what proportion you are going to operate these electron guns from the cathode. Okay. The moment after crossing the shadow mask, these electrons are going to hit your screen, giving rise to illumination. So this is the graph which shows the distribution of color. So for what color combination, how much you are going to eliminate. See here, it is they have started from green to red, purplish, red. So for these different things can be uh, these different colors can be displayed. So see here, you have green, bluish green, greenish blue, blue, purplish blue, violet, purple, reddish purple, purplish pink, pink, red, yellowish pink, yellow, reddish orange, 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 yellow, yellow, greenish yellow, yellowish green, and purplish green. So so you can see it's starting from green and it is going till red. And the wavelength, the values you see, it is starting from 380. 380 is your wavelength and it is going till 700 to 780. So this covers the entire spectrum of visible light. We are saying with 3R, right? Violet, indigo, blue, yellow, green, orange, and red. So that covers the entire visible spectrum of light, which you can see with your eyes. So that covers the wavelength from 400 to 700. So that covers the entire spectrum, and the same thing is given here for the particular color. What wavelength of light I am going to have, that is given by this graph. And the CRT falls for the spectral distribution. Spectral distribution means what color will have what amount of intensity. So usually you see the blue phosphor has an intensity of close to point 6 at 450 nanometers, and green phosphor at 550 nanometers going close to point 4, and red phosphor has a huge response at close to point 9 at 650 nanometers and at 700. So with GR I said, right? So with GR means red is going to be at larger. The violet starting wavelength is 400 nanometers, and last one it is going to 700 nanometers. So violet is going to be 400 and red is going to be 700. Okay, so see here, that is what is red. You see, it is going till 700, and violet and blue. So violet, indigo, blue. So 400, it will come around after 400. So 450, you have the blue, and around 550, you have the green. So majority, they have given the basic colors RGB. For that, the spectrum is given. So what is the response? And we find that red color is going to have a higher response compared to green and blue. Okay, red is going to have close to point 0.9, whereas green has point 0.4 and blue has point 0.5, the intensity of the color intensity. And a CRT gamut. So this is CRT gamut is a term which is used to say the subset of colors which can be represented in a given device. And you have the CRTs were primarily displayed for television, right? And we have several television standards followed all over the world. You have the basic, the initial days, we have PAL and NTSC standards of television. So for that, we were using the subset of colors which can be represented in a given device, R1, G1, P1, by the primary colors used for PAL, and R2, G2, P2 by the primary colors used for NTP, NTSC. And if you mark them in a coordinate system, you will get a triangle. R1, B1, G1, and R2, B2, G2. So dotted line indicates your NTSC system, and the normal line indicates your PAL system. So two different systems of television were there, PAL and NTSC, followed initially. For that, they are dividing defining the subset of primary colors used for PAL. I'm going to use R1, G1, P1, and for NTSC, I'm going to use R2, B2, and G2. And this is your frame buffer value. So you know the number of frames you're going to display. So that is going to determine number of frames. If you're going to display a video, means a video is a collection of image, right? So at what at what rate you are going to move the images. So that is going to give you the frames. So as you increase the frame value, you see at 550, at 550 here, and at also 550 here, you can see a peak. Okay, you can see a peak at 550. Display intensity. So you are going to display the image, right? So you're going to display the image from the camera and you're going to display that in a monitor. So for that, what happened? All the things are such a way that the camera and monitor non-linearities are cancelled out. See, camera is a device which is going to capture the image. It will have some non-linearities. Non-linearities means some output is not proportional to input. Because of some characteristics of the camera, the image what you capture might be non-linear. So what you capture might not be what you see. But what happens, the camera and displays are created in such a way that whatever non-linearity is occurred or captured in the camera, it is being completely cancelled out by the display. You see here, at these points, you can see in the along the camera graph, the curve is highly non-linear. It is having multiple breaks, right? But at the display, you see, it will become smooth because the intensities are going to be cancelling out without any change in the values. The values will be exactly same. Only thing the non-linearities will be easily cancelled. Non-linearities are unwanted because they will change the information what you want. You will not see what you have captured in your camera. Okay, that is the reason why the camera and monitor non-linearities are cancelled out completely. Gamma encoding or decoding, gamma correction. So gamma correction is done to enhance. See, all these functions are done to enhance the quality of image displayed. So this is going to we are going to do a gamma correction to your display to relate the pixel values and luminance. Okay, so value. So we are going to, it's a non-linear. Non-linear means it is not proportional to input. You see output equal to input power gamma. The value out equal to value ln power value in power gamma. So it is a non-linear relationship between pixel values and luminance. So if the gamma is less than 1 means you call it as encoding, gamma encoding, and if the gamma value is more than 1 means you call it as gamma decoding. So you see the sample graph here, gamma value equal to 1 is a straight line. You know, when you put gamma equal to 1, value out equal to value in, so it's a straight line. So as the gamma value is going to increase, you see the curve starting to bend. Okay, that when the gamma value is greater than 1, you call it as gamma decoding. And when gamma value is less than 1, you will get the curves like this. So you will get the curves above that equal to line. Okay, you will get it above the equal to line like this. Okay, so that is gamma encoding and decoding. So typically, why the image files are created by cameras, stored on computers over internet gamma encoding? It usually all the images which are created by cameras and stored over the on the computers and communicated over the internet. You send file, you upload file, you send it using WhatsApp, Telegram. You send, but what the size of file you have in your mobile phone, the size it is sent will not be same. So they are sent with gamma encoding only. So while as and when you send a file over a communication channel, the computer will automatically perform gamma encoding because the eyes do not respond linearly to light. It responds to relative brightness or luminance differences. So it is called as Weber's law. What they say is the eyes do not respond linearly to light. So as the brightness of light increases, your eyes will start closing, right? You cannot able to see that light because the light is bright. What they say is the light, as the brightness increases, your eyes should be able to see the light even more clear. Yes, the light will be seen even more clearly, but because of the intensity of the light, I will start to close my eyes. That's why they say the eyes do not respond linearly to light. They respond to relative brightness or the luminance difference. That is called as the Weber's law. Okay. Relative or difference means you have to go for differentiation. So relative means now and after some time, what is the difference between the intensity? So you see here the intensity, if you draw the graph between intensity and brightness, so this is the thing. If the intensity is increased, the brightness will also be increased, but eyes will not be uniformly decoding it. So gamma encoding will ensure that it is going to be uniform throughout the intensity. So even You say that the eyes are not eyes. Human eyes respond non-linearly. We make the non-linearity into linearity by using this gamma encoding. Okay, see how it is done. So gamma input device to output from camera to display how it is done. So from the scene, you are clicking a beautiful image. It is gamma encoded and sent over the internet. Assume you are taking a picture and immediately sending it through WhatsApp to your friend. So you perform gamma encoding, and then you are over the internet. You are going to send the same thing to gamma internet. Your friend is there, and once your friend clicks the download button, so when the file is being downloaded, it will be automatically gamma decoding will be done, and it will be displayed in the mobile screen. Okay, you will see the image. So see here, and you have two things. You have both encoding and decoding gamma. The encoding is a normal scene. Normal scene means it is going to be gamma equal to 1. It's a straight line. When you do gamma correction, when you do gamma encoding, the value will slightly increase from 0.158 to 0.218 to zero point 0.5. When you download the facility, it will decrease from zero point 0.5 to 0.218 again. Okay, 0.218 is the original value, right? It will decrease from 0.5 to 1 once you start gamma decoding your signal. Okay, so this is the need for gamma encoding and decoding, because they say that since you want to cancel the non-linearity introduced, I'm going to perform gamma encoding and decoding. Encoding is usually done from the source side, and decoding is usually done on the receiver side. So source is going to be a camera in our case, and the image is going to be and the display is going to be our output device. So that we'll be having the decoding happening. Only thing, my information is at 0.218. For some reason, I'm converting it into zero point 0.5. So when I do the reverse thing, I should convert the same zero point 0.5 to again 0.218 when I get my information back. So that is the thing. Okay. So actual information is at 0.218 only. But for some reason, I'm converting the 0.218 into zero point 0.5 using gamma correction. So when I reverse the process and decode, the download the image and see, I should see everything at 0.218 only and not at zero point 0.5. So for that only, I'm doing gamma decoding process to convert the values back to my original range. Okay, this is the sum of the gamma correction applied. So this is a linear gamma. Linear gamma means gamma equal to 1 on a 2.2 gamma display. And this is 1 by 2.2 gamma display. 1 is the encoding part and 2.2 is the decoding part. So you should not apply a wrong gamma encoding or decoding value to your image, because that will spoil the content of your image. So choosing a wrong gamma is going to be changing the contents of your image. You see a sample image is given. So gamma equal to 1. This is the linear gamma. In the linear gamma, it's gamma equal to 1. Okay, and now encoding at gamma equal to zero point 0.6. Definitely, you can see the difference. It is going to be dark. Now it is becoming bright. It's a little bit bright. It's becoming gamma equal to zero point 0.4. The difference you can see easily, and gamma equal to zero point 0.2. So all these are, I am applying the gamma correction to different. All these are different gamma values for the same image. I am applying. Okay, a different time instance. Okay, the video is being run, and for each frame, I'm going to apply a different. Each frame, I'm going to apply a different gamma value. I'm starting from 1, I'm coming downwards 1, 0.6, 0.4, and zero point 0.2. So CRT displays have inherent gamma correction. So CRT displays what we had in the initial days. They had inherent means in their circuit itself, they had the facility to perform gamma correction. So they will be using the gamma correction factor gamma equal to 1. Okay, gamma equal to 1 or the linear gamma will be considered for a CRT system. So gamma equal to 1, see here. So it is a linear scale. On the output side, you will get a non-linear thing because of the non-linearity of the display. You have to make that non-linearity into linearity by converting this curved graph into the straight graph. You have to perform gamma decoding. Okay. Now see gamma equal to, assume your camera has gamma equal to 2.2. Your thing should also have gamma equal to 2, reverse of that to cancel out that gamma correction. Okay, so if the camera is going to have a gamma graph above the straight line, this should have gamma graph below the straight line so that both of these cancel and you get the exact image. Okay, so here if you have gamma equal to 1, here also you should have gamma equal to 1. Here if you have gamma equal to 2.2, here also you should have gamma equal to 1 by 2.2, the reciprocal of that to cancel out the non-linearity effects happening because of this gamma correction. So these are the different standards we use it for gamma correction. Again, NTSC is National Television Selection Committee. So NTSC is a standard. NTSC is a television standard, National Television Systems Committee. It was used in North America. Okay, it was used in NTSC was used in North America. So it has North American standard. It has its own TV standards. Okay, next one, PAL is phase alternate line. So it is also one of the very, very important standards. It was used mostly in Europe. Phase alternate line, PAL. NTSC is National Television Systems Committee, PAL, CCAM. CCAM, I think it is French, France, and sequential color and memory. So it is used in France and many Eastern countries, sequential color memory. And finally, Mac. HD Mac. HD Mac is a television system chart promoted by the Europe, and it is thing to it was the thing to introduce the HD TV, high definition television systems Mac. Okay, and conventional sRGB for this standard, I'm going to use gamma equal to 2.2. For NTSC, I'm using 2.2 for the value of gamma. For PAL, I'm using 2.8. For CCAM, I'm using 2.8. For MAC, I'm using 1.8. And for sRGB, I'm using 2.2. Oh, see, there is, don't think all these values are taken randomly after the deliberate experiments done on different types of images and the system. This gamma value is arrived at. Okay, it is arrived at after number of experiments conducted. So these are the formulas you can remember. So if the for linear, what is the gamma encoded value and what is the gamma encoded value if the graph is like the value is like this. Linear means without the straight line. Okay, and encoded means you are doing some operation on gamma. Okay, so how will you test the gamma of your monitor? So you have to see exactly at the midpoint what is the relative intensity, and from that you draw a straight line vertically and horizontally and see what are the endpoints of your where do the graph is going to touch. So correspondingly, those two things, you have a gray here at 120, 125, you have a gray at 230. So this is going to be the endpoints of your gray scale. So between 125 and 130, you have to encode all the values. Okay, between 125 and 230. So the logic is simple. The total values 250 means 125. You mark it, go straight and touch the linear scale. From there, draw a line horizontally and vertically. The vertical line will cut your x-axis at a point 125, and the horizontal line will cut your y-axis at a point. From that, again draw one more vertical line and see where it is going to touch. That is going to be 230. So the gray value, minimum value will be 125 and maximum value will be 230. So that is how you fix your gray levels of your image. If you're having two gamma values, means same procedure. Divide by two this one 250 by 2 125 mark a point. Project the line upward and draw a line horizontally. It is going to meet the graphs at two different points. One at 230, the extreme end. Another one is 190. So you can see the different shades of gray you are going to obtain. So as you shift your gamma value, you can see the different gray level values, how they are appearance wise, how they are different, and value wise, how they are going to be different. So that is what is shown here. The first graph, what you have seen is for a single gamma correction graph. Second, you have considered two gamma values. You see above the linear line, you have two gamma graphs, and I'm finding out the different grayscale levels of all the three graphs. So this is for a Norman Korean gamma test. So you have a gamma test available for your monitor. So once your monitor is manufactured, they will be doing this gamma test of your monitor to see whether the gamma encoding and decoding is working properly or not. Okay, whether the gamma encoding or decoding is working properly or not. So all these images for all the colors which they are okay. So for all the colors, they will be doing this gamma correction: violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. So all for all the seven colors, they will be doing this gamma correction. So generally for displays, what is the gamma correction follows? Usually output equal to input power gamma, but usually we'll be adding some black level. So luminance equal to C into value power gamma plus black level. C is the contrast of your monitor, and value is the pixel value which you want to perform gamma correction, and black level is set by the brightness. So by based on the brightness and contrast only, we are going to perform the gamma correction accordingly. So luminance equal to C into value power gamma plus black level. This is just a simple numerical formula to understand the difference between brightness, contrast, and gamma correction. Okay. So usually the formula is output equal to input power gamma. That is the formula for gamma correction. But here we are incorporating all the gamma correction with respect to brightness and contrast also. So luminance equal to C into value power gamma plus black level. C is going to be the contrast, black level is going to be the brightness, and value is going to be the pixel value. And gamma is, that gamma is the value which you want to fix for a linear scale means you will put the gamma value is going to be 1. For linear scale, you will make gamma value equal to 1. This for response, we have seen the spectral response. For red, you have the peak response. Relatively, next you have for blue, and next you have for green. So we are seeing only these three basic colors because we are going to use three electron guns in the cathode for the three basic colors: red, green, and blue only. Okay, for that purpose only we are doing this. We are seeing the response of the three colors in the display. So spectral additivity, because of the phosphor screen you are using, some additivity is added by the phosphor. So for that, what you do, the monitor spectral density will be equal to the individual color spectral density into ER, EG, and VB. So that is equal to ME. Okay, E is the relative intensity. So you see here, red and for red, green, and blue, the individual spectral densities you take, you multiply it by the normalized value, relative intensity, and you get from that you get what is called as the monitor spectral density, monitor spectral phase density. Okay, red color dominates at higher, larger wavelength, green at 550 and blue at 450, correct? So individually you take everything, you multiply by ER, EG, and EB, relative intensities, and not the frame buffer values to get the monitor SPD. Luminance and white point, this is again RGB. You can see here. The same way I the formula what I gave here. So the display white will be XYZ equal to X bar, Y bar, Z bar, RGB 111. Okay, so this is the thing, and the values are given here. XW, YW is 0.2707, 0.3058. And again, see, all these display white points and other things are used in television standards. Display elements and white points are used in TV standards. So for NTSC standard, there is white point will be at C. White point will be at C. Okay. For NTSC 1979, the Y point will be a D65. See, all these are different color notations. Okay, so different color notations. For PAL, you have it. For PAL, you have at D65. 65. For CCAM, you have it D65. For ISO 12646, we have a D50. For CIE, we have it white pointed E. So if you see the location of all the things, you can see that they are very close. A, B, C, D, D65. So A is going to be the color temperature. Each color, you know, it is going to have a temperature of emission that is going to be mapped along the x-axis, and Y you have that parameter. So A, B, C, D65 and E are marked. So remaining things will be close to each other only. So minimum thing A is going to start at 2000 and maximum it can go up to 20,000. Okay. Display calibration. See, for everything we have the calibration matrix. So it is very simple. So the actual X bar, Y bar, Z bar, you have to multiply by the RGB. So calibration matrix relative intensity absorption rate. You know that you have to calibrate things, right? So the formula is given. It is just a simple matrix multiplication. R is equal to H into E. Okay. You know we have defined the E matrix here itself. The previously the first E matrix is going to be the reference ER, EG, and EB. They are going to be the relative intensity values. For display, you white again, you use the same thing. But instead of ER, EG, EB, you use 111 because it is white. For white, everything is one. Okay. For other things, if you want to calibration again, you do H, you compute H and multiply H by E is going to be again the ER, EZ, and EY. And you can convert from this. Once you know the matrix, you can convert from any system to any system. So once you know this matrix, 3 by 3 matrix, you can convert from any system and find the equivalent matrix for the other color system. So see here, calculate the XY for frame buffer value. The frame buffer value is given 128, 128.0. Relative intensities are given. So just use matrix multiplication and compute these values. R is equal to H into E. So, and H, you know, it is the flame H. The formula for H is given here, H into E. Or H, you can find X bar, Y bar, Z bar into RGB. So you can do that and you can get the value of R. Same way, if you want to find E from this, R inverse into H. Find out R. So R is given, R inverse into H. If you multiply, you'll get back the value of E. From E, you can find out the frame buffer. So both the forward and reverse thing are possible. Okay, you can convert from knowing H, you can find R, or knowing E, knowing R, you can find E, and from E, you can find the frame buffer. So calculate frame buffer particular for a value which is changing only in S cone direction. You have to use L, M, and S, and RGB. The basic formula is going to be same. You are going to use matrix multiplication of the three things. Okay, RGB along with the corresponding things. So once for everything you are going to calibrate for every step. First one R1 equal to H into E1. Then define R2. R2 E2 is equal to H2 inverse into R2. Then you find the E2. You find the update the new calibration matrix H, and you repeat this again and again until how much times you want to compute the calibration matrix. So this is all about CRT tubes. In CRT tubes, all the calculations, a lot of calculations are there. It has to be done manually, no other option, because the system is going to be completely in the form of an analog device.